Now, Republicans are about to make a mistake on health care and betraying a promise. It is inescapable that this bill in its current form will betray the very promise that Donald J. Trump made in the Oval Office or in the cabinet room when I was there with finance, where he said we can go after waste, fraud, and abuse on any programs. The Medicaid proposal in this bill bears no resemblance to that kind of discipline and due diligence. It has no insights into how these provider tax cuts are going to be absorbed without harming people on Medicare. The best case scenario is about a $26 billion cut. Now, we've got a delay, so it may be 2 years, it may be 1 year. All it does is make that $26 billion happen in year 1 or year 12, but the impact is the same, Mr. President, and it's indisputable. Now, when I actually presented this report that you can find on my website, I had people in the administration say, "You're all wet, you don't know what you're doing."
A sitting U.S. senator is raising alarms about Donald Trump's proposed budget bill, the beautiful bill, but only now that he's retiring. Senator Thom Tillis of North Carolina says the bill could severely harm vulnerable Americans. And while his warning might seem sudden, it does reflect a growing discomfort, if you will. Some might say a reckoning within conservative circles. It's about the real-world effects of extreme spending cuts.
But after 3 different attempts for them to discredit our estimates, the day before yesterday, they admitted that we were right. That between the state-directed payments and the cuts scheduled in this bill, there's a reduction of state-directed payments. And then there's the reduction of the provider tax. They can't find a hole in my estimate. So what they told me is that, yeah, it's rough, but North Carolina's used the system. They're going to have to make it work. All right. So what do I tell 663,000 people in 2 years or 3 years when President Trump breaks his promise by pushing them off of Medicaid because the funding's not there anymore, guys?
Tillis is particularly concerned about the proposed Medicaid cuts that would hit low-income families, rural hospitals, and aging populations hard. What stands out, though, isn't just the warning itself, it's the timing. Tillis is not running again, and some are wondering if the senator's conscience only kicked in once he no longer had to answer to Donald Trump, aligned donors, and operatives.
Restrictions to Medicaid, raising the debt limit by $5 trillion, limits on overtime and tips deductions, boost to defense funding and immigration enforcement.
The nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office estimates nearly 12 million people will lose care under the current version of the bill, especially children, people with disabilities, and senior citizens.
You have the largest ever cut of Medicaid in American history. You have the largest ever cut to the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program in American history. You have a change to higher education, particularly student loans, that will make getting an education become more expensive. And then you'll see not only the loss of most clean energy tax credits, but new taxes that have been described as a kill shot for solar and wind, and we should expect much higher electricity costs and rolling blackouts. Meanwhile, there are the tax credits for the kind of coal that is used in steel, and there's a big tax break for big oil that would allow domestic oil drillers to not pay any taxes at all. You have Republicans taking food and medicine and other things away from vulnerable people in order to finance tax cuts for the rich.
We estimate more than 16,500 deaths annually as a result of the coverage losses that would be inflicted by the so-called Big Beautiful Bill Act. These are not surprising results. We know that modern medical care saves lives, but they are very disturbing results. And they speak to the fact that the lives of working-class Americans are being weighed as less important than tax cuts for billionaires.
According to multiple analysts, the Trump-aligned proposal includes reductions, not just to Medicaid, though, but also to housing assistance and school meals, also other public programs that millions of people rely on. Meanwhile, corporate tax breaks and high earner protections, they remain intact. Critics say this is a budget that spares the powerful and shifts the burden onto everyday Americans.
But I'm telling the president that you have been misinformed. You supporting the Senate mark will hurt people who are eligible and qualified for Medicaid. I love the work requirement. I love the other reforms in this bill. They are necessary, and I appreciate the leadership of the House for putting it in there. In fact, I like the work of the House so much that I wouldn't be having to do this speech if we simply started with the House mark. And I believe that we can make sure that we do not break the promise of Donald J. Trump that he's made to the people who are on Medicaid today, Mr. President. But what we're doing, because we've got a view on an artificial deadline on July 4th that means nothing but another date and time, we could take the time to get this right if we lay down the House mark of the Medicaid bill and fix it.
Even so, Senator Tillis has not fully disavowed the House version of the bill. He still supports much of its framework. He hasn't called out Trump by name, and he hasn't joined any bipartisan coalition to stop it. So while some might see this as a courageous moment, others see it as a political damage control.
If there's no negative impact, what's wrong with daylight? What's wrong with actually understanding what this bill does? We owe it to the American people, and I owe it to the people of North Carolina to withhold my affirmative vote until it's demonstrated to me that we've done our homework. We're going to make sure that we fulfill the promise, and then I can feel good about a bill that I'm willing to vote for. But until that time, I will be withholding my vote.
The bigger takeaway here might be this: when elected officials wait until they're leaving office to speak plainly, freely, if you will, it calls the entire system into question. And for many Americans, especially those depending on programs now at risk, that delay has real life consequences. The question now is whether more lawmakers will find the courage to lead before the cameras stop rolling.